Hi, I'm Chris Kennedy, and I'm running for Lake County State's Attorney. I'm running because I believe I can make a difference. Over the past 18 years, I've worked to build a reputation as a leader, as a tough but fair prosecutor, and as an advocate for our state's most vulnerable citizens. I began my career as an assistant state's attorney right here in Lake County, where I worked as a felony prosecutor. I worked with local, state, and federal law enforcement, and I supported victims of crime as a lead trial attorney. I won numerous jury trials and secured valid convictions in hundreds of criminal cases. And for many years now, I've run my own law practice. I've represented victims of negligence, fraud, civil rights abuses in state courts and in federal courts. I've prosecuted, I've defended cases, I've tried major cases, and I've handled appeals. I have experience with just about every kind of decision a state's attorney is ever likely to face. I've even taught criminal law and evidence at Columbia College in Missouri. More importantly, I've taken on public officials in both political parties who have abused their position. And I've been an advocate for persons and families affected by developmental disabilities. I've led efforts to pass more than a dozen laws that now provide protections for tens of thousands of families. I'm also in my second term as a school board member in Libertyville. I feel very privileged to do work that makes a difference in people's lives. It's the kind of thing I wanted to do growing up. I'm the oldest of 4 children. My parents both worked full-time when I was growing up, and I had a lot of responsibility, and I took on sort of a protective role. I grew up in a neighborhood where my friends' parents were all cops, firemen, sanitation workers. I looked up to them as people trying to do the right thing every day. And my parents also taught me that you have 2 choices in life. Either you can accept things as they are, or you can accept responsibility for changing them. And I decided to become a prosecutor to do just that, to try to make things better for people. That's why I went to law school. I wanted to serve justice. I wanted to make sure that people who had committed crimes were held accountable for them. And I wanted to advocate for those who'd been victimized and prevent it from happening again. I've lived in Lake County now for more than 20 years, and my wife Lisa and I chose to raise our 3 children here. This is a great place to raise a family. But we also know that we can do some things better. And I have a real plan to improve the way the state's attorney's office works, to make sure that it's just, that it's fair, that it's competent, and that it's equal for everyone. Because when justice fails, it can fail in terrible ways. If we are putting innocent people behind bars, that's bad enough. But when the criminal remains free to commit more violent crimes, as we've seen in at least one case here, that is unacceptable. The consequences are terrible, and we've seen it in our own family. What's more is that Lake County taxpayers have been paying for all this, and may for a long time to come. Now, as your state's attorney, I will make changes on day one to make sure this never happens again. Ultimately, this job is about public safety. Wrongful convictions and injustice do not promote safety and should not be tolerated, certainly not in a county as good as ours. So I've proposed a series of reforms that I call a blueprint for justice. The conviction integrity unit that I've proposed will take a look at old cases. We will stop fighting the testing of evidence, but we'll also make sure that going forward, we're using the very best methods and training available. I've also proposed a sex crimes unit so that prosecutors will be able to properly handle these especially dangerous and difficult cases. We need to commit the resources to ensure that our prosecutors have the training and support and that they're also inspired to do great work for people. That includes leading efforts to stop gang violence, white-collar crime, identity theft, and many other crimes. I'm also committed to transparency and accountability. The prosecutor is a public servant with a tremendous amount of responsibility. We need to answer to the people who pay our bills. I have the experience to do this job. I have a track record of fixing big problems, of getting things done. The job of restoring the office of State's Attorney here in Lake County is a big one. But I've never been afraid to take on challenges or to take on people in power. And I think those are qualities we're going to need in Lake County if we're going to change from being an example of what can go wrong into a national model for what can go right. So that's why I'm running, and I'll need your help in this effort. I hope you will join me. Thank you.